My name is Kalle Slaap and I'm a watchmaker from the Netherlands, and tonight a very special guest, Edwin.
How are you, Kalle?
We know each other for quite some years because the first time you got here is in the other workshop.
Yeah, that's right.
Edwin has got a very interesting view in watchmaking, watches, collecting, and I do hope tonight during this conversation answer some questions and see what it's like. You are not only a collector and a connoisseur.
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, maybe in a moment, not just now, but we're working towards the watch forum, Horlogeforum, here in the Netherlands. It's huge, huge amount of members, very active. And so in a moment we are going to talk about the forum and the online gathering of enthusiasts. And because you are so active on the forum,
I am, yeah.
I think it's very interesting to, in a moment, talk more about the trends of the last few years, what you've seen, maybe what I've seen in repairing. And for me, this is the real interesting part of this conversation, and that's why I asked Edwin to come over. Is my view of watchmaking is so technical driven and mostly vintage, and your view is more maybe commercial, aesthetic.
Yeah, absolutely. That is important for me.
And the collecting side, and that's a part that I'm really curious about. I would like to ask you, you brought just a few watches, but interesting ones. Maybe a brand some of you don't know already. Maybe you can show us the first.
Yeah, absolutely.
And after that we can talk about trends in watch collecting and in the online side of watch collecting. So yeah, if you like that.
Yeah, sure. Should I take one out, or you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, it all started.
Dan schuif je die een beetje aan de
Yeah,
kant.
I'll just move this and go like that. As I said, my first watch was a Casio. Then I owned some Swatch watches, quite a few actually. That's when I probably started collecting, so to speak. And I still own one Swatch watch actually, but I never wear it anymore. But it's nice to still own one, because Swatch was a really important brand for the industry in the 80s, as you know.
Yeah. Well, for me, with a technical hat on, I think it's questionable that they can be maintained.
Yeah. Okay, that's true.
Or a crystal being changed, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then again, the sheer amount of different models, and
it's pretty amazing,
for everybody, and it really helped in making the cosmetic side of aesthetic side of watches more appealing.
People really liked how they looked, and you had all these different kinds of Swatch watches that you could collect. So that really changed the industry. Also, they made the Swiss quartz watch very affordable.
Yeah.
And you know, until then, the Japanese, of course, were really doing business and changing the whole market. So this was the Swiss answer. And then, of course, as you know, the Swatch group bought all these brands like Longines, Certina,
Omega, Tissot,
of course.
Breguet. Glashütte Original, even.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Is it maybe you can even make a comparison with Swatch and the Seiko 5?
Yeah.
Making affordable watches in different models, which the technical side isn't the mainstay, but making people enthusiastic and lower the threshold in collecting watches.
Affordable, good-looking watches that you can just wear anywhere, any day. No problem.
Reliable.
Very well. If I had to choose between a Swatch and a Seiko 5, I'd go for Seiko 5, no doubt. I mean, yeah, they are absolutely superior watches, compared with Swatch. But Swatch watches were a fashion item back in the day, and well, you just had to have at least one.
Yeah, true. Dedicated follower of fashion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you tell us a bit more about this Carrera?
The Oyer company started in 1860, and they made all these great timepieces. But they almost went bankrupt, along with many other Swiss brands in the quartz crisis phase, and that's when the TAG company joined them, and they invested in the Oyer brand, and they became TAG Oyer. And well, in the early '90s, I stumbled across the brand somehow. Oh yeah, I know. I remember how. I saw these ads in Newsweek.
Okay.
Because I had a subscription, and I was still a college student, and I read Newsweek, and there were these great ads that with these very good-looking watches, I thought, and I decided that as soon as I could afford one, I'd get my first TAG Heuer, and I did.
So there's a real appeal to the brand, and not particularly to a singular model, or...
Well, they advertise these divers watches, and I don't know, they appealed, yeah, to me. I like divers watches, I always have, and I decided that I wanted one of those TAG Heuer divers watches, and they were very popular at that time in the late 80s, early 90s. They were at least as popular as Omega is now.
Oh, okay, yeah.
In the US as well, I think. So, all these investors, rich people, they all wanted a TAG Heuer. And you've seen the Wolf of Wall Street, the film, right? He's wearing a TAG Heuer.
Oh, okay.
So they were a thing. But I didn't know that at the time. I just liked the way they looked. I liked the brand. I liked how they presented it. And, well, I got my first TAG Heuer watch in the early 90s. I still have it, by the way, and you cleaned it at some point.
Yeah.
I never had any problem with it. It still works, so.
Yeah. I've got a Monza I really like.
Right, they're great, yeah.
I don't have too many watches myself, and that is one I've got for years now, and that's one of the few I wear most regularly.
You do, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, they're great watches. Well, I like many of their models. I like the early divers of the 80s and the 90s, but I really like the older models, such as the Carrera, like the one we have here.
I would really like for you to add in the comments if there are any particular TAG model or any other model that you like or is worth collecting. We read every single comment, so please leave your comments on your favorite models, and even if they're a bit obscure, and that's what we really would like to see, so please leave your comments. Yeah, now it's visible.
See?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's really nice.
That's beautiful stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, this is one of my favorite watches. It's not extremely expensive, but it's a really nice watch, and that's what's important for me anyway.
Yeah.
Most people are not into fashion brands. They are frowned upon by some. I'm okay with them. I mean, I've at some point owned a diesel watch, which were really nice actually.
Yeah.
It looked good, so and it was cheap, so I thought, why not, And I bought it and I sold it at some time, and I didn't make a profit, but I didn't make no big loss either. So and I owned it for some time, and I liked it. So yeah, there's a huge vintage following on the forum.
Yeah.
We like our vintage watches, but yeah, modern watches are a big thing as well. Yeah.
For me, what's interesting is if you see some trends, because we are restoring watches, and for us there's a shift for some people between collecting and investing. And maybe if you show us another watch, After that we can talk a bit more about the difference and the trends we see in watching and watch collecting.
This is a brand that is originally a Swiss brand, but it's now owned by an Italian family who used to be the distributor of this brand.
Didn't know that.
The Maggi family, Andrea Maggi. And they have been a distributor for many, many years, for decades actually, and their families are also, they know each other very, very well. They went on holiday together and stuff.
Okay.
And anyway, the guy who started the brand was Charles von Buren, and he was I don't think he was a professional diver, but he liked to dive, and he wanted to develop watches that were perfect for the job, you know, function before.
Function.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he designed watch cases that I think he bought the movement and you know, some of the other parts, but the cases became so popular that brands like Blancpain, Heuer, Doxa, and many other small brands, they ordered the watches from Squally. But of course, they also made their own Squally brand watches, and one of the models that they have made for many, many years is the 1521. That's this one. It's got this very particular case. It's very comfortable. It's very rugged.
What kind of movement is in there?
I think this is either an ETA or a Salida. I'm not sure. So I don't think there's any way of knowing until you open it. So
true. Yeah.
Anyway, what I really like about this watch, well, also the 1521 comes in very, very many shapes. I think there are about at least 10, well, maybe 20 different varieties. And this is the Onda version, which is limited. This one is limited to 80. I think there are only 80 pieces of this one. So very interesting for a collector such as myself. And what I really like about this, obviously, is the dial. The color is just awesome, and the wave pattern is also very pretty.
I like the inner bezel that is so reflecting.
Yeah.
That the color is coming back from the sides.
Yeah.
A really nice feature is that.
Yeah, and this obviously reminds you of the sea, and that's what the Squally brand is all about: diving in the sea. Italy, France, you know, Europe.
Yeah, and I love the contrast in the bezel, the outer ring, between sandblasting and highly polished.
Yeah, that's very nicely done.
The contrast really, and then the relief, the difference in height.
Yeah,
it's nice. We've been talking about the Dutch Horlogeforum, the online community in the Netherlands, which is huge. Until tonight I never realized just the amount of members. And what's interesting, because we are so focused in the workshop on vintage watches, that maybe you can tell us a bit more about trends you see from the last few years.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's very obvious is that watches have become much more expensive, really expensive. Prices have gone up tremendously. Well, I have to say until recently, because I think since last year, and we always look at Rolex as a focus point, and Rolex used Rolex prices have been going down somewhat in recent months.
Yeah.
An entrance model Rolex used to cost about 4,000 to 5,000 maybe a few years ago.
Yeah.
And now you can't find any below, well, I don't know, 8, 9, maybe 10,000.
Euros and dollars are very close, so there's not too much difference in that.
No. So, but recently prices have been going down a little. So that may be a new trend. I don't know. I think it's still too early to say.
Yeah.
Another thing that's very watches have grown in size tremendously since the early since the beginning of this century.
Yeah.
watches used to be like 35, 36 millimeters.
That's what I'm wearing now, and
Right.
really, for me, that's just perfect
Yeah.
for my wrist.
And well, they've grown, not literally, of course, but business they started making bigger and bigger watches. There was a demand for that, obviously, and they grew up to like 45, 48 millimeters.
Yeah, it's insane.
Sometimes, yeah, very, yeah, crazy. But recently, and since this has been happening since a few years, 2 years maybe, sizes have been going down again, and well, 40, 39, 38 is a sweet spot, I think, at this moment.
Yeah, it's been for before the inflation.
Yeah.
It still was 39, 38. Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great size, absolutely, yeah. It also depends, of course, on the shape of the case and the way the lugs are shaped. For instance, my Squally is actually, my Squally is actually 42 millimeters, which is which is okay for a diver's watch, of course, because you know it's okay if they're a bit bigger. But this wears way smaller. This wears like a 40 millimeter, and making it very comfortable. But anyway, the really big watches are no longer in fashion. People don't want them anymore. You can easily tell when you see somebody with a really big watch, they're not into watches.
Yeah, true. That's what we like here. Most of our clients are with vintage watches, and really enthusiastic about the story, the emotional value, and they really would like to wear them and are wearing them because we restore them so they run accurate and they're perfect again. But they all, not just about, always smaller in size, and they still wearing them with pride, because anybody with a bit more knowledge or is a real connoisseur, they immediately see not the size of the watch, but that it's an interesting model or an interesting era where it's from. And that's what I do love about the vintage watches. And that's what we see, and maybe that's a trend we can talk about a bit more, is the difference between the collecting and the investing of watches. Because for us it's a different way of restoring and repair. They have to be perfect, and if we talk to the client, we know he's not gonna wear them, but it has to be perfect. The amplitude, the polishing, everything like new, but almost sale ready. And if you got a real collector, they want everything exactly original, and if there's a scratch on the acrylic crystal, please let it be like that, leave it like that. And so we see, and even here in the workshop, the difference between the collectors and the investors, and there's no wrong or right. It's just a different kettle of fish, that's it.
So this is an Omega Seamaster Cosmic. It's rather small size. I think it's about 35 and a half millimeters probably, but that's fine for a vintage watch. Obviously, I don't wear it really often, but I wear it sometimes, you know, on special occasions when I go. I went to the I don't know if you know them, the Analogs concert. The Beatles. Right. And I had to wear this watch, of course, because it's you know, period correct. So
that is 68 with the cushion, the cushion case. Well, White Album.
So well, I have a few vintage watches, but to be honest, I'm more into modern watches that have some vintage vibes, you know, but are more practical. I think modern watches are more practical. That's why that's also why I'm into divers watches mainly. I mainly wear divers watches. I'm wearing one right now, a Seiko.
Well, we are not sponsored in any way, so we show every single
all the brands, yep.
whatever.
Yep.
It's just a preference, and yeah, this is a Frederik Constant, but yeah.
We like all and every brand. Yeah.
Well, a lot.
Well, many of them. Yeah.
Maybe
not all
Frank Muller is a bit under discussion.
Not so much, no.
But still.
Yeah.
I'll be nice.
Anyway, this is an interesting example as well, because it's a special case. You can only enter it through the front, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you can tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, the mono case, no case back. So it's a bit difficult to reach the movement. The crown is a two-piece crown, so you have to detach the crown. Then the tube where the crown is over is available. Then you have to pump air in the case, and then the crystal will pop out, and then you can remove the movement from the front. So you need a bit of experience for this watch to open, but you see immediately there's no case back. The theory is there is one less seal, so it is more waterproof. But again, with vintage watches, you want to keep it original. So the original crown. Well, the seal in the crown is just a rubber seal, which deteriorates during the years. Yeah. So even if you want to replace the crown with an original period crown, that seal is from 1968 as well, deteriorated. So even if it's a mono case, one seal less, water resistance, well, it's sneeze proof, we call it here. And then so yeah, please be careful, even though it was
don't wear it when you go swimming.
No. So yeah, but still interesting design.
Absolutely, yeah.
This is Edwin. Very nice to hear his views on collecting and on the outside of watches, aesthetics, stuff like that. Thank you so much for coming over.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for the invitation.
If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments, and for future projects or stuff you would like to know. And maybe we can do it another time. Maybe we ask collectors from specific brands or from specific eras, from the 1920s, 1940s. Maybe it's nice to hear their views, because it's such a different spectrum of just the technical stuff we do here. We really hope you enjoyed it. We did. Absolutely. And hope to see you soon. Please leave your comments, and if you really like it, hit the like button, and hope to see you soon. Enjoy your evening. See ya. Bye bye.